تخيل معي إن عندك 50,000 دولار اليوم ووفرت عليها 600 دولار شهرياً ابتداءً من سن 30 لليوم يلي رح تتقاعد فيه. خلينا نقول 65 سنة، وافترضنا أنك ما بتاخد أي ربح سنوي عليه، فرح تكون سيفت 302,000 بحلول الوقت يلي رح تتقاعد فيه. وطبعاً ما أخذنا في هاي الحسبة التضخم وانخفاض القدرة الشرائية للعملة. في المقابل تخيل معي أنك استثمرت ما وفرته في أحد الأصول يلي رح تعطيك 6% عائد سنوي، فمن هلأ لحد اليوم يلي رح تتقاعد فيه رح يكون عندك في حسابك تقريباً 1,200,000. فشفت قديه سهل أنك تحصل على المليون؟ رحلتي إلى الحرية المالية ما كانتش بالصدفة، بل كانت رحلة مخططة ودليل على أهمية وقوة التوفير ووضع الميزانية. ففي بداية مسيرتي المهنية كنت عانيت من صعوبات مالية، وعلى الرغم من أنني كنت اكتسبت عادات التوفير من والدي، كان من الصعب بالنسبة لي التعامل مع أموري المالية في تلك الفترة. في هذه الأوقات الصعبة اكتشفت سحر وضع الميزانية للسيطرة على أموري المالية. بديت بتسجيل دخلي ونفقاتي، ثم قسمتها إلى احتياجات ورغبات وتوفير. كانت هذه أول مرة غنستعمل فيها قانون 50 والثلاثين والعشرين، لكي تمثل في إنفاق 50% على الاحتياجات و30% على الرغبات، والحفاظ على 20% للتوفير والاستثمار. واندهشت من اللي بدات الأموال الصغيرة المدخرة بانتظام في النمو، وبديت كنسترجع السيطرة على شؤوني المالية. الاستثمار بعد وضع الميزانية والتوفير أمر مهم للغاية، فهو كيتيح للأفراد الفرصة في زيادة الثروة بمرور الوقت. إعطاء الأولوية للاستثمار كيعطي الفرصة للأفراد بالاستفادة من قوة التراكم ورفع من قدرتهم المالية. اليوم أنا واقفة أمامكم، ومهمتي هي مساعدة الناس في تحقيق هذه الحرية المالية يلي كلنا بنسمع فيها. خلوا دائما في البال أن وضع الميزانية والتوفير ليس بتقييد الحياة. من خلال هذه الحلقة غنشارك معاكم نصائح عملية ساعدتني في بدء رحلتي في التخطيط المالي والتوفير وتطويرها. غنكتشفوا أيضاً كيفية استخدام المبالغ الموفرة لإنشاء الثروة ونموها والحصول على أول مليون. التخطيط لهدف مالي طويل الأمد كيتطلب بناء ميزانية دقيقة وتوفير منضبط واستثمار استراتيجي، سواء كان الهدف هو بناء صندوق تقاعد مريح أو توفير لتعليم طفلك أو تحقيق الاستقرار المالي. اتخاذ خطوات فعالة نحو تحقيق أهدافك المالية أمر بالغ الأهمية. هذه الخطوات كتبدأ من أولاً تحديد هدف واضح. قبل الانخراط في التخطيط المالي من المهم تحديد هدف مالي واضح، مثل شراء منزل أو بناء صندوق معاشي بهدف التقاعد. ثانياً إنشاء ميزانية واقعية. كشكل إنشاء ميزانية واقعية أساس خطتك المالية. من المهم النظر بالتفصيل إلى الدخل والنفقات وتحديد المجالات التي يمكن تقليص الإنفاق فيها وإجراء تعديلات. ثالثاً التوفير. من الضروري أنك تخصص جزء من الدخل للتوفير كل شهر. قم بإعداد تحويلاتك تلقائياً إلى حساب التوفير أو حساب الاستثمار. بهذه الطريقة غتستفد مع مرور الوقت من قوة التراكم. رابعاً الاستثمار الحكيم. بعدما تم توفير جزء من الدخل، حان الوقت الآن لاستثماره بحكمة. كيف ما درنا في الحلقات السابقة، من المهم البحث عن خيارات الاستثمار المختلفة لكي تتناسب مع مستواك لقبول المخاطر وأهدافك المالية. الآن خلينا نشوف مع بعض كيفية استخدام الميزانية والتوفير والاستثمار الصحيح لتحقيق $1,000,000 عند تقاعدك. تخيل معي إن عندك 50,000 دولار اليوم ووفرت عليها 600 دولار شهرياً ابتداء من سن 30 لليوم يلي رح تتقاعد فيه. خلينا نقول 65 سنة، وافترضنا أنك ما بتاخد أي ربح سنوي عليه، فرح تكون سيفت 302,000 بحلول الوقت يلي رح تتقاعد فيه. وطبعاً ما أخذنا في هاي الحسبة التضخم وانخفاض القدرة الشرائية للعملة. في المقابل تخيل معي أنك استثمرت ما وفرته في أحد الأصول يلي رح تعطيك 6% عائد سنوي، فمن هلأ لحد اليوم يلي رح تتقاعد فيه رح يكون عندك في حسابك تقريباً 1,200,000. فشفت قديه سهل أنك تحصل على المليون؟ بس لازم تخطيط وانضباط يومي. تذكر أن وضعك المالي فريد من نوعه، ويختلف هذا الوضع من شخص لآخر، ويرتبط دائماً بكثير عوامل نفسية وشخصية وعملية وطموحات مستقبلية. ولنغوص أكثر بالتفاصيل، ضيفنا اليوم رح يخبرنا عن كيفية التخطيط المالي والتوفير بانضباط والاستفادة منه عبر الاستثمار الذكي. شوفوا مين معنا اليوم.
فرانك رافاييل مستثمر ومتداول في أسواق رأس المال، ورجل أعمال مهتم بإطلاق الشركات التي تتحلى بالمسؤولية الاجتماعية. عمل لأكثر من 10 سنوات في وول ستريت بعد تخرجه من جامعة ييل. شغفه في الأعمال الخيرية دفعه لإطلاق منظمته غير الربحية في نيويورك، متحدث دائم في مواضيع المسؤولية الاجتماعية للشركات. تم تسميته كأحد أفضل قادة الأعمال في نيويورك.
Hey Frank, how's it going?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning from Dubai.
Good morning from New York City.
How is Wall Street doing? You're talking to us from Wall Street. I do really appreciate that.
Well, it's always pretty glorious down here, so it's a pleasure to be down here, and even more of a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Frank, you're one of the top stock traders in Wall Street. But today we're not going to be talking a lot about the stock market. We're going to talk about more how can we help people, budget, save, and invest eventually. What are some of the tools that you would really advise people to use when they want to, invest or probably just save and budget?
Well, it's an incredible question, and it's something that impacts everybody. It's something that impacts all corporations, all businesses, and budgets are something that everyone needs to be cognizant of. Essentially, the way I look at budgets, there's really two sides of it, of course. There's the income side, how much you make, the revenue side, and then there's the expense side, how much you spend. And the ideal always is to have more income than expenses. I think with budgets, a lot of times people get so fixated on the expense side, which is how much you should save, how much you should stock away, how much you should spend. All very, very important things to do all that. Super important to say, we need to spend 30% of our income for living. We need to save 30% of our income for retirement. All great things and a very, very important conversation. But the income side often gets left a little bit to the back burner. For me, especially with my stock trading background, I'm more concerned a lot of times on the income side. So if you focus a lot more on the income portion of it, vis-a-vis make as much money as you possibly can, make as much revenue as you possibly can from a business standpoint, and still save that same percentage. Of course, the same percentage on a bigger number is a bigger number, which means you can save more. So the expense portion, certainly super important, but I think a lot of people need to focus also on the income and how much those percentages are being based upon.
So they say that the most wealthiest people have more than 3 sources of income. What do you think of that?
Well, you know what? I think it could be more than that, actually. A lot of people these days, the current term for, it could be, it could be almost everything could be income producing in a lot of ways. A lot of times people call sort of ancillary businesses, side hustles is what people call it these days. But, people that are saving for the future, people that are accumulating wealth, people that are looking, 10, 20, 30 years in the future, pretty much everything they do generates wealth. When they earn in their job, it generates wealth. When they invest, it generates wealth. When they consume, vis-a-vis buy something, also generating wealth. Buying a piece of real estate. The idea is it's either going to be cash flow positive, which means you're renting it out, making money on it, or you're living it, enjoying it. But when you sell it, the idea is a capital appreciation. So realistically, I think people that are really concerned about the acquisition of wealth and concerned about the future, almost every single thing they do goes towards that end. And very rarely do you see people in the higher levels spend on something that is not going to generate some sort of return or capital return in the future, near or distant.
Frank, what kind of tools would you advise people to actually use whenever they want to think of, budgeting, saving, or investing? Give me like an app that you would recommend, for example, for each one of them, for each one of these 3 categories.
Well, of course, and there's a ton of products on the marketplace. Mint is a very popular one in the States. People use to sort of keep track of their savings, keep track of their income. But realistically, I don't think you need to go that complicated. I think, a simple spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, it doesn't really matter. The idea is to be cognizant of the income, be cognizant of the expenses, and keep track. I don't think it needs to be so granular that every time you buy a cup of coffee, you need to put it on the sheet. I think a lot of times it might be a waste of time at some level, but people need to know what they're earning, what they're spending, and have a good snapshot at every given point of their net wealth, whatever the number is, whether it's a dollar or $1 billion, you know, how much they have to them between all their investments, and also know where their net wealth is. Is it allocated correctly? Is it too heavy in real estate, too heavy in stocks, too heavy in cash, which right now cash is a big problem, as we know. You know, it's probably not a good investment right now. But, you know, it's very important to know where the money is, why it's there, and if it needs to be reallocated for whatever reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have no idea on their financial goals. It's so complicated for them to really understand what their financial goals are. Sometimes they just want to, you know, when you ask them what do they really want, they just say, hey, I want to make my first $1 million, right? What are some of the tips that you would actually recommend to people to know their financial goals? This is very personal, well, I know, think, you know, but how would you target these people?
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, it is personal for all of us. We all do have certain levels that are different from, you know, from me to you and you to someone else. But at the end of the day, everyone sort of wants the same thing, right? Everybody wants to make as much money, accumulate as much wealth with as little stress as possible. And a lot of times those do not sort of correlate together, right? People want the quick, rich idea, you know, easy money, no stress, no work. And of course, it doesn't work that way. So, you know, so it's important to know where you want to be 3, 5, 10, 50 years from now, and what's the roadmap to get there. Now, essentially, the roadmap's always the same for everyone. It's to, you know, increase your income and to increase your savings rate and to invest. And everyone has, you know, essentially the same goals. You know, you need a nice house, a nice housing. You need to provide a good quality of life. People want to raise a family. People want to spend something on luxury or vacations or something that's a little bit not necessarily just pure investment. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of overlap between investment goals. But I think people should put it down, put it on paper, see where they want to be. And short-term, long-term, it doesn't really change so much the investment strategy from my point of view. I'm a little contrarian on this. I think the same strategies for a 3-year plan could be the same strategies for a 30-year plan. Because for me, it's super important to know where your money is, where your wealth is, and to watch it on a, not a monthly basis as most people do. You know, most people look at their retirement accounts maybe once a quarter when they get their statement, maybe even once a year, maybe never. But people that really have a handle on their financial goals going forward, every day when they wake up, they say, okay, even if I have one share of Apple, one share of anything, they look and they see, how did Apple do? Is there any news this morning? Is there anything going to be material for the company? So
when it comes to investing, what would you recommend people to really look into whenever they want to start investing and have no idea what kind of markets they have to go to?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. And it's something that people do not think about, unfortunately. By far, the most important, or maybe the only thing that matters, is invest in something that you know. It could be a company. It could be a piece of real estate. It could be a stock, but you need to invest in something that you know. It could be cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, obviously, also very popular, but a lot of people invest in coins or NFTs or whatever the new blockchain du jour is without knowing what the business model is and why it's doing it. They're just trying to ride a wave. That doesn't work. That does not work. That works very short term. Sometimes there are people that are able to, you know, get in early, cash out, and make a return. But it's important to know why you're investing towards that. Something I use personally when I look from a stock standpoint, a good investment is very simply, are the insiders of the company, you know, essentially the people that run the company, people that are the CEO, the CFO, the board members, are they buying or are they selling? Luckily for us, and luckily thanks to United States regulation, the SEC, a lot of that is publicly disseminated knowledge. So you always hear about, you know, illegal insider trading, but there's also legal insider trading. There are a lot of insiders that just know if the company is doing well because they're inside the company. So you can look at their filings, look at their reports and say, insiders are buying, insiders are selling. And of course, for me, if an insider of a company, CEO, CFO, COO, board member is buying their shares and putting their personal capital in their own company, they put their money where their mouth is, that is a company what I want to be involved with. Conversely, you can see insider selling as well. And if you see insiders selling their shares for whatever reason, they know they're there every day. They know their company. That's a company that I want to sort of steer away from. And if I do have a position, I probably want to lighten up a little bit.
Well, thank you so much, Frank, for all of these insightful answers. Today, we do have another guest with us who would be asking us together like about tips on how to save and how to budget and where to invest according to his status. What about we welcome him with us in this call?
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
أهلا فيك كريم، طرقة جميلة، لكن قبل ما نبدأ الحديث معك خلينا نتعرف على مين هو كريم. Karim, how is it going?
Hi, yeah, it's all well. How about you?
I'm great. Tell us a little bit about you, Karim. What do you do for a living? Who is Karim?
So Karim is a 21-year-old university dropout. At the current moment, I might go back, so it's not final. I started my first business when I was 16 years old. I dabbled a little bit with e-commerce in the world of Web3, cryptocurrencies. And I'm also now a content creator. So I'm an in-house social media manager for one of the local companies here in Dubai. So what I do is I handle all the social media accounts relevant to the business and to the personal brand of our CEO. And I've never had consistent income getting generated every month, because with my own business or with my freelance gigs, the incomes come and go, maybe 3 months with no income and just 1 month with a huge lump sum of income. So this is the first time that I earn fixed income on a monthly basis. So I'm just looking to explore ways on how I could budget, save, and start investing in the stock market.
Frank?
Yes.
So Karim has told us a little bit about his story, and he's interested to first know tips and tricks on how he could really budget and save and then eventually start trading. I'm not sure he can trade currently because, he has a full-time job, but we can give him tips on how to invest.
Excellent. Well, first of all, congratulations on making the move to deciding to fixate on a budget and potentially embarking on the journey of trading. It's an incredible journey. So the first step by far is taking the step. So now that you made the step, the question is, how do you do it? And there's a lot of ways to figure that out. The first step is obviously consume information. Before you trade, by the way, before you invest $1, it's important to consume information, acquire as much knowledge as possible in a very, very, very micro way. What that means is focus on one market. It could be stocks, it could be options, it could be bonds, it could be Forex, it could be commodities. Doesn't matter. What that means is you read all their reports. You read every single news story. You read comments on message boards. After you do that, then you start trading. That's on a macro level. That's on a very, very high level. Traders don't necessarily deal on the macro. You mentioned the word day trader before in the intro. Day traders deal in the micro. Could be a day, could be an hour, could be 10 minutes, could be 30 seconds, could be less than 30 seconds. So then you need to learn the micro. So how do you learn the micro? Well, it's very simple. The same way you consume knowledge on the macro to learn about the company, then you look at the stock trade, you follow the trading motion of that stock, and stocks trade based on human beings, based on market sentiment, based on technical analysis, also based on human beings. So then you see, how does the stock trade on a day-to-day basis? What's the volume? What's the stock trading range? What's the high? What's the low? And then after you do all those sort of things, then you can look at market participants, the actual people in there. You can see this. This is public knowledge. You can see who the buyers are. You can see who the sellers are and see, can you recognize a pattern? Can you have a little secret sauce to figure out, can you find arbitrage? Can you find an opportunity that other people don't see? And I will tell you, when you marry the micro on a day-to-day basis with the macro, all this consumer information you're bringing in, I will guarantee you will know that stock and you will know when it's a buy, even for a 10-second period of time, and you will know when it's a sell.
Frank, I love how you got super excited talking about this. Karim, what are your questions for Frank today?
How is it possible to put your emotions aside when you're day trading?
Well, that's a great question. It's very important to do so. As was just mentioned, very smart to mention that, by the way. You're right. emotions are challenging when you are trading. I will say I'm an emotional person too, so I empathize completely with you. And I can say that as a trader, yes, you do not want to make emotional trading decisions, but the benefit to being an emotional person is you understand other emotional people. When you're trading, you make your decisions not on the fly. And what that means is that traders, New York Stock Exchange behind me is open 9:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, New York time, until 4 p.m., 9:30 to 4. Traders do not make their decisions, their trading strategies, I should say, between 9:30 and 4. Doesn't happen then. Trading strategies happen before 9:30 and after 4 p.m. And you figure out what is my strategy and why am I doing it? And then your job, and then you focus on that. You brainstorm on it. You see what worked. You can back test, look at trades that were successful, look at trades that weren't, and you'll remember the ones that aren't successful a lot more than the ones that were. And then you say, okay, this is what my strategy is going to be. Between 9:30 and 4, you are not making any strategy decisions. You're a robot. 9:30 to 4, you're a robot, and you do what you plan to do before the market and post the market, and you leave the emotions aside. So I don't think the emotion thing is a negative. Just use it to your advantage.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here with me today. I wish we had more time to discuss this further and further.
Thank you so much.
كلنا على علم بأن التخطيط المالي والادخار بطريقة فعالة أمر حاسم للاستقرار المالي، ومع ذلك العديد منا كيعرفوا صعوبة في الالتزام بخطة مالية. بينما كيلعب الانضباط دور هام، هناك أيضاً استراتيجيات نفسية يمكن اعتمادها لتسهيل الوصول إلى أهدافنا المالية. غنكتشفوا معاً طرق لخداع العقل بهدف الالتزام بالميزانية والزيادة في التوفير. أولاً، تلقائية التوفير. عند إعداد تحويلات تلقائية مباشرة إلى حساب التوفير، فأنت في الواقع كتجعل عملية التوفير سلوكاً افتراضياً، وكيصبح جزء من نمط حياتك، وبالتالي كتكون أكثر عرضة لتكييف نفقاتك حول هذا التوفير. ثانياً، استخدام التصور. احتفظ بتمثيل مرئي لأهدافك المالية في مكان غير يمكن لك رؤيته بشكل متكرر. فعلى سبيل المثال، لما بتحتفظ فوق المكتب بصورة لمنزل الأحلام، فهذه التذكيرات المرئية كتساعدك في الحفاظ على أهدافك في مقدمة عقلك وجعلها دائماً الأولوية. ثالثاً، اعتماد نظام المظاريف. هذه الطريقة في التخطيط المالي كتضمن تقسيم الفلوس في مظاريف مختلفة لكل فئة من فئات الإنفاق. عند إفراغ الظرف كيتوقف الإنفاق في تلك الفئة أوتوماتيكلي. رابعاً، ممارسة الإنفاق الواعي. قبل كل عملية شراء اسأل حالك إذا كان هذا الغرض أو الخدمة يلي رح تشتريها من الضروريات، وإذا كان بالفعل غيضيف قيمة لحياتك. هذا التفكير كيساعد الفرد على اتخاذ قرارات واعية. وضع ميزانية مالية والادخار هم أشياء شخصية جداً، فاستراتيجيات للوصول إلى هدفك المالي كتختلف من شخص لآخر. الأهم هو أن تبقى منضبط بشكل يومي ومتحمس، وهي بتكون خلطتنا لأول مليون.